They say curiosity killed the cat. But on the dark web, curiosity can do much worse. It can scar you for life. Beneath the surface of your browser, past the cheerful ads and innocent searches, lies a digital purgatory where morality decays and the grotesque thrives. The dark web, only accessible through special browsers like Tor, isn't just a shadow of the internet. It's its depraved reflection.
Okay, now blink for
And while
us.
most
That's
people
it.
associate it with hackers or whistleblowers, the truth is far more chilling. Imagine logging into a hidden site one night, thinking you're about to see an edgy live stream, only to discover you've stumbled upon a real-life nightmare, a red room. Long dismissed as urban legend, these pay-per-view torture chambers were thought to be the stuff of twisted campfire tales for tech nerds. Until 2015, when authorities uncovered a site streaming a live hostage being brutalized in exchange for cryptocurrency donations. The woman, bound and blindfolded, reacted to commands voted on by faceless viewers who paid more Bitcoin for increased brutality. Police intervened, but not before snippets of the stream leaked online, forever burning the image into the memory of those who saw it, and proving that red rooms weren't fiction. They were business. But if you thought that was the worst of it, you've barely touched the surface. In 2013, a man named Mohammed used the dark web to hire a hitman to murder his ex-girlfriend. The transaction looked legitimate, complete with detailed profiles, pricing tiers, and even customer support through encrypted messaging. Mohammed sent the Bitcoin and the target's daily routine. But what he didn't know was that the site was being monitored by the FBI, who intercepted the plot before blood was spilled. Chillingly, the site wasn't a sting. It was a real hit-for-hire operation that had already taken jobs before being infiltrated. And yet, what shakes people the most isn't the hired killers, it's the cannibals. Yes, you read that right. One of the most infamous hubs on the dark web was the Cannibal Café, a forum where users discussed their desire to eat human flesh. Sometimes consensually, other times disturbingly not. It was on one such forum that Armin Mayways found his willing victim, Bernd Brandes, who agreed to be mutilated and eaten. Though the crime occurred in the physical world, the culture that bred it thrived online, where users shared recipes, photos, and fantasies that made even the most seasoned agents flinch. Then there was Matthew Falder, a seemingly brilliant Cambridge-educated geophysicist who moonlighted as a sadistic puppeteer of human suffering.
On the surface, he was a man of science. On the dark web, he was a predator who blackmailed victims, many underage, into humiliating themselves on camera for the amusement of anonymous voyeurs in encrypted forums. He used multiple aliases, each more grotesque than the last, and ran a digital empire of degradation, until a global investigation led by the NCA and FBI finally brought him down in 2017, resulting in a 32-year prison sentence. But these aren't just tales of isolated evil. They reveal a marketplace of horror. Take, for instance, the online human trafficking operations hidden behind digital storefronts. These weren't grainy Craigslist ads. They were polished, professional websites with inventory of women and children, complete with photographs, stats, and horrifying product descriptions. One such site had listings that looked like modeling portfolios, except the prices were in Bitcoin, and the buyers were not talent agents. When law enforcement cracked down on one such ring, they found encrypted logs indicating hundreds of transactions, most traced back to wealthy bidders in different countries, all shielded by the promise of anonymity. But not everything on the dark web is about gore. Sometimes it's mystery that drags people into the abyss. Enter Cicada 3301, a cryptic, high-intelligence puzzle that started with a single image posted on a forum in 2012. The message was simple yet spine-tingling. We are looking for highly intelligent individuals. What followed was a global scavenger hunt involving layers of code, ancient manuscripts, obscure philosophy, and GPS coordinates leading to real-world posters placed in multiple cities. Who was behind it? A recruitment campaign? A cult? A rogue AI? Nobody knows. The puzzle ended as mysteriously as it began, leaving behind a trail of obsessed solvers and wild conspiracy theories that still circulate today. But not every shadow figure on the dark web seeks talent. Some aim to silence truth. In 2014, a journalist working with a North Korean whistleblower via the dark web mysteriously vanished. Both their accounts went dark, their last messages never decrypted. Later investigation found that their servers had been compromised. But by whom? North Korean agents? A rogue hacker? No one knows for sure, only that anonymity isn't absolute. And even digital masks can crack under pressure. If psychological terror is your thing, consider the suicide forums. These aren't support groups, they're digital dens where users actively encourage one another to end their lives. In one haunting case, a young woman live-streamed her final hours while users egged her on, calling her brave, giving tips, even placing bets. Authorities couldn't trace the stream until it was too late. By the time her body was found, hundreds had watched her final moments unfold in grainy night vision. No one knows who filmed it. No one knows who was behind the usernames. What's worse is that the forum was back up and running a week later under a different address. The anonymity that protects journalists and protesters also protects monsters. Perhaps one of the darkest forms of digital extortion comes from blackmail scammers who hack webcams, steal private moments, and threaten to leak footage unless they're paid. One particular case involved a hacker who hijacked hundreds of home cameras and watched victims for weeks before launching attacks, demanding cryptocurrency ransoms in exchange for silence. Dozens of terrified individuals gave in. Their lives changed overnight. The hacker, a 17-year-old operating out of a suburban basement with a VPN, a cracked copy of Python, and no moral compass. Then there's the bizarre and sometimes deadly trend of dark web mystery boxes. Pioneered by YouTubers looking for clout, buyers would receive ominous packages said to come directly from the dark web. While many were hoaxes, some were not. One box reportedly contained a bloodied doll, human hair, and a USB drive with disturbing footage that authorities never released publicly. Another box was sent to an influencer who went missing days later. The footage of her unboxing has since been scrubbed from the internet, but copies still circulate on fringe forums. Whether fact or fiction, these boxes only add fuel to the fire. The idea that the dark web isn't just a corner of the internet, it's a portal to the darkest depths of human nature. And as we dive deeper, things are about to get even more disturbing. If you thought red rooms, human trafficking menus, and suicide forums were the bottom of the barrel, you're gravely mistaken. Because the deeper you go into the digital void, the stranger and more haunting it becomes. There exists a level of the dark web where even criminals fear to tread. Places not just filled with crime, but with a kind of unexplainable malevolence, like a digital curse infecting anyone who dares interact with it. One infamous example is a site only referred to as Obsidian Mirror, whispered about in private IRC chats and described by those who visited it as a mind virus. The homepage looked like a shattered mirror, literally. Click on one shard, and it would take you to different sections, each more disturbing than the last. Hallucination-inducing sound loops, video collages of real crime scene photos, and a page that mimicked your voice in real time as you typed, as if something or someone was watching you type your own nightmare into existence. Several users claimed their webcams activated without permission while browsing, and more than one reported shadowy figures appearing in their home within days. Whether it was an elaborate hoax or something more sinister, no one knows. What we do know is that the site vanished weeks after a user posted a deep dive on Reddit. His account was deleted the next day, and he hasn't been heard from since. Then there's the case of the blind auction, a dark web event said to take place only once every leap year. Users report being invited via encrypted message, but no one knows how they are selected. The auction isn't for drugs or weapons. It's for people. Allegedly, wealthy bidders can buy experiences with real individuals who are trafficked and drugged for weekend rental. What makes this even more grotesque is that the auction interface uses avatars, playful icons, and bidding sound effects. Like a game show in hell, descriptions are vague but coded. Lot hash 112 compliant, low resistance, fluent in English, 48 hours max. In one particularly infamous leak, a buyer claimed to have purchased time with a lot that never returned. The IP logs were traced to a decommissioned cargo ship floating off the coast of Malta, but by the time officials boarded it, the ship had been abandoned. Its walls covered in handprints, chains bolted to the floor, and a laptop still logged into the auction dashboard. The case remains unsolved. Meanwhile, another horror unfolded in plain digital sight with the rise of AI-generated torture content. In late 2021, a dark web ring began using advanced deepfake tools to create violent, hyper-realistic videos that appeared indistinguishable from real abuse. Victims' faces were stitched onto avatars in brutal scenarios, some involving known missing persons. The effect was so convincing that a video showing a well-known missing teen in a red room setting went viral on encrypted messaging boards. Her family, already traumatized, was re-traumatized by having to confirm the footage wasn't real, even though for days the internet couldn't decide. The rise of these AI-forged terrors marked a new chapter in digital horror, one where technology outpaced truth and victims could be endlessly exploited, real or not. Another twisted legend is the Game of Pieces, a dark web puzzle said to recruit only the most ethically void. It begins with simple riddles but quickly escalates to real-world dares, each more disturbing than the last. Participants receive physical packages with tools and instructions, break into an abandoned hospital, photograph a corpse, film yourself administering pain to a willing or unwilling subject. The reward? Bitcoins, reputation in elite forums, or even anonymous sponsorships into secret societies. But the game doesn't end when you want it to. If you try to leave, they threaten to dox your family. One Redditor who tried to document his escape from the game vanished mid-thread. His last post was a cryptic image of an eye made of binary code captioned, "They see everything." To this day, no one has been able to confirm who's behind it or what the end goal really is. But psychological terror isn't the only danger. There's also the Whisper Marketplace, a dark site with no search bar and no product listings, only voice commands. Users report needing to speak into their mics to place orders, but the site never responds with confirmation. Instead, a package shows up at your doorstep within days. One user claimed he casually said, "I want to feel powerful," and 3 days later received a small vial labeled only with a number. When he opened it, he immediately passed out. He woke up 12 hours later with no memory, a camera set up in his living room, and a USB drive on the floor. The footage reportedly showed him doing things he couldn't remember, dangerous, violent things. Another user asked for revenge, and days later, the bully who had tormented him in high school was found hospitalized after an untraceable chemical attack. Whether it's a myth, coincidence, or horrifying reality, the whisper marketplace has become the stuff of digital folklore, and no one dares speak to it twice. Then we come to the deep feed, an auto-refreshing forum that shows live footage from hacked CCTV cameras around the world. Sounds harmless until users began noticing a particular stream that didn't match any known address. The room was bare. Concrete floor, a drain in the center, metal table, surgical lights. At first, nothing happened, but over time, viewers realized the room was being cleaned and rearranged every few hours. Once, a shadow passed across the lens. Twice, a person in a hazmat suit could be seen adjusting equipment. Then, on a night no one expected, a figure was brought into the room, unconscious, and strapped to the table. The feed cut to black seconds later. The next day, the forum was wiped, and every IP connected to the deep feed was hit with a malware worm that wiped their machines and rerouted their Wi-Fi to a static warning page. You were not supposed to see that. Since then, rumors swirl that the deep feed was connected to a rogue medical research facility, doing illegal human testing, funded by crypto billionaires, or worse, governments experimenting off-grid. Whether it was real or elaborate performance art, the aftermath was real. Bricked devices, corrupted drives, and a community too scared to log back in. And while some dark web horrors are carefully orchestrated, others feel like raw madness. One user described stumbling onto a forum where each post was a confession, but the names were redacted. I poisoned a playground. I buried her in 2009. The screams stopped after day 3. Some of the posts matched unsolved crimes reported in various countries. One moderator posted GPS coordinates and a countdown timer, daring someone to go there before it expired. A few brave YouTubers tried. None returned with footage. One channel that attempted to live stream the journey had its video stream glitch out the moment they reached the site. Their vehicle was later found abandoned in the woods, engine running, camera equipment smashed, phones missing. The countdown site? Gone. Archived by no one, indexed by nothing. The dark web, by design, doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care if you're just curious, if you're watching for entertainment, or if you're trying to expose it. It watches back. It remembers. And if you think this is where the nightmare ends, wait until you see what's coming in the final part. You'd think by now we've seen it all. Torture streams, black market auctions, AI nightmares. But the truth is, the dark web has no bottom, only layers that keep getting darker. Because in the final depths of this digital underworld where light never reaches, we find the kinds of things that don't just haunt your browser history, they stain your soul. There's a site known among underground forums simply as Reverie, and it's unlike anything else online. It doesn't sell drugs. It doesn't offer hitmen. It doesn't even pretend to be useful. What it offers is access to dreams. Yes, actual dreams. Visitors are told to download a mysterious piece of software that allegedly lets you experience someone else's dreams while you sleep, broadcasted through a direct neural feed. The program uses binaural frequencies and embedded hypnosis scripts that somehow bypass conscious awareness and project vivid dream content into your mind sounds fake until users began describing identical dreams down to the smallest detail. Dreams of shadowy figures with no faces. Dreams where the walls whisper in Morse code. Dreams where you wake up in bed, but your room isn't yours anymore. One Redditor posted a full log of his experience, 12 nights, each more terrifying than the last. On the 13th night, his journal ended mid-sentence. No one has heard from him since. Investigators found his apartment locked from the inside, computer fried, all files wiped except a single audio clip, a mechanical voice repeating, "Still dreaming," over and over. As bizarre as that sounds, reverie is just a taste of what lies below. There's also DeadScript, an invite-only writing forum for anonymous users to post their darkest fantasies. Some write about revenge, others about crimes they say they've committed. The rules are simple. Post once a week. Never repeat a character name. Never confirm if your story is real. But moderators occasionally flag stories with a symbol, an Ouroboros eating its own tail, which signals a vote. If a story receives enough votes, it's labeled manifest. And the next week, someone posts photographic evidence of that exact story acted out. One tale described in gruesome detail the kidnapping and execution of a local official, involving methods too specific to be imagined. The following week, police in a rural European town found a body with every detail matching the post. DeadScript's servers moved locations within hours of the news breaking. Some believe it's a collective of serial killers. Others think it's an experiment in reality manipulation. But one user managed to trace one of the moderators to a university in the U.S., only for the school to deny any record of the individual. Then there's the site known only as Zero Day Mercy. It's a blackmail database, but instead of operating through threats, it offers a choice. Users can anonymously submit private secrets, photos, confessions, or evidence of crimes, and in exchange, they receive another user's darkest secret. The deal is blind. You don't choose what you get, and you can't undo the trade. One user uploaded a personal video and received in return a high-level government document marked Eyes Only, detailing a covert psychological warfare program. Another received a confession from a known billionaire involving crimes that, if true, could reshape global politics. But what's truly unsettling is that every upload is then locked away behind rotating encryption. If you don't upload something new within 14 days, your last file is released publicly to a random user. Thousands of secrets, thousands of ticking bombs, and somewhere, someone's keeping the master key. But for all the horrors constructed by man, perhaps the most terrifying content on the dark web is the kind no one can explain. The things that seem to come from nowhere, like the crowdless live feeds, a cluster of hidden streams showing locations that don't appear on any map. Grainy black and white cameras watching train stations with no trains, hospitals with no patients, playgrounds with swings gently swaying despite no wind. One feed showed a room filled with mannequins sitting at desks. Every hour, a siren would blare and one mannequin would be removed. No people were ever seen. No context was ever given. And yet, the streams were live. The chat on the page was filled with garbled text, foreign scripts, and coordinates that led nowhere. Some believe the feeds are echoes of parallel timelines. Others think they're AI hallucinations, trained so deep they've created their own reality. But one thing is consistent. Those who watch the feeds for too long, days, weeks, begin reporting the same phenomenon. seeing figures in their mirrors, static noises when they close their eyes, hearing their names whispered through their devices, even when offline. One man reported that his smart TV turned on by itself, showing one of the feeds with his own bedroom visible in the corner of the screen. Then it cut to black. No trace, no logs, as if reality had momentarily cracked. But the crown jewel of dark web terror, the final descent into madness, is the event known only as the Disappearance Protocol. Once a year, usually in August, a cryptic message is posted across several dark web forums. Willing participants needed, departure irreversible. There is no application form, no explanation, only a digital countdown and a wallet address for a deposit, exactly 1.00 BTC. Once the deposit is sent, users report receiving a series of messages, long questionnaires, strange sensory exercises, and eventually, GPS coordinates to remote areas around the world. Every year, a handful of users go dark around that time. Their accounts vanish. Phones disconnected, apartments abandoned, sometimes with strange symbols drawn on walls or mirrors covered in black paint. A few return, but they're different. They speak in riddles. They claim to have seen the root code of existence or woken up from the illusion. One woman claimed she spent 33 days underground with no light, being fed only once a day through a small slit in the wall. When asked why she did it, she simply said, "To prove I was real." Authorities dismiss these disappearances as hoaxes or unrelated vanishings. But those who've watched the patterns for years know better. There's something out there, some intelligence, some force, that uses the dark web not just to corrupt or exploit, but to test the boundaries of human perception, to bend the line between fiction and reality until you can't tell the difference. And that's the final horror, that maybe the dark web isn't just a network of hidden sites. Maybe it's a mirror reflecting what we really are when no one's watching. The darkest versions of ourselves, hungry, anonymous, untraceable. The stories we've shared aren't creepypasta. They're documented, reported, leaked, archived. And for everyone that surfaces, 100 more stay buried in encrypted servers, private forums, and locked directories you'll never find. But they're there, waiting, watching, whispering through your routers at night, peeking through your firewalls. The internet is no longer just a tool. It's an ecosystem of ghosts, crimes, secrets, and games. And sometimes, when you stare too long into the void of the dark web, the void doesn't just stare back. It logs your IP. It opens a tab. It waits for you to come back, curious, just once more.